I live in the Philippines, and this is a story from my childhood. When I was 7 years old, me and my family went to the province of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, to spend the summer vacation. The trip was to the family home of my mum's side of the family, a humble, 3-story old house renovated to fit the outgrowing neighborhood. When we arrived, my mum was immediately approached by my excited relatives, as it has been a while since we went to the house. While the adults talked, I was greeted by my older cousin, Kuya Ian, and his friend, who liked to call Ate Joanna. My Kuya and Ate Joanna were close to one another. I like to tease my Kuya about it, that he will develop feelings for her, but he just brushed me off. Me and Ate Joanna, on the other hand, were really close. My relatives used to joke how I actually act like her sometimes. We have the same hobbies, music taste, and behaviors to some extent. One day, during our 5-day-long trip, my lolo, grandpa, Yuring, was inviting me along with my Kuya Ian and Ate Joanna to the family-owned banana plantation. I was skeptical with tagging along, especially with the fact that it was 7:45 p.m. that night. But my Kuya urged me that it was fine. The family plantation is a private property that you can really only enter via the opening on the side of a major highway. He claimed that no one was going to bother entering through a random opening on the side of the road which leads down a grassy pathway. So, with boredom in my head and my old tablet in my hands, I went with them. When we arrived to the opening in the highway, we went down a short flight of stairs to go to the bottom, where the plantation was. When we got to the bottom, I was astounded with how wide the plantation looked, especially with the new angle. My lolo Yuring took me to the old bahay kubo, or old wooden house as we Filipinos like to call it. It was actually pretty well maintained for something deep in the woods. It even has a bedroom. As I sat down, Ian and Joanna went off to collect some ripe bananas ready for the harvest. My lolo Yuring said that he'll call me if he needs my help. So I just sat alone in the bahay kubo with my tablet, playing Fruit Ninja as my lolo Yuring also went off. As the time went on, I couldn't help but notice the weird noise in the back of my mind. I thought it was just me, until my senses really kicked in, confirming that something was outside, and it's the one making the rustling noise. It was a small and minor sound, so I just thought that it was a group of chickens plucking the ground for food. But the sound got louder. I felt the source of it moving from place to place. It wasn't just the rustling bushes anymore. It was now making this weird growling, mixed with random talking noises. As it got louder, I couldn't contain my curiosity and my thoughts anymore, so I went outside to check. As I got to the front door, the noise stopped, and everything seemed to go back to normal. Even the sound of the cicadas went back, in contrast to earlier, where they were all just quiet. But as I went to the back of the bahay kubo, it all started to go quiet again. The rustling and weird noise also stopped, but it was replaced with an eerie feeling. As I peeked over the back of the bahay kubo, I saw nothing. At first, it was just another group of banana trees. But as I squinted my eyes, I noticed there was something out of place among those trees. I thought it was just another tree, a dead one, I thought. But as I went closer, I realized it was a person. I was skeptical at first, if it was really a person. We Filipinos are not really tall people, but whoever was standing next to the banana tree was practically on par with its height. No, it was actually taller than it. I talked to it, since it was trespassing my family's property. "Sir, what are you doing here? This is private property. You can't stay here. You have to leave." I thought of myself a little dumb for that question. I should have asked what in the world it was doing in a random banana plantation 8:30 in the night. Before I could continue, it moved. The things in its side, which I thought were branches, especially with how disfigured its look, were actually its arms. It fidgeted a bit, before finally looking over its shoulder. Its eyes were black, and the pupil was replaced with a deep white color. I was absolutely horrified at that fact alone. I was frozen there, on the wooden floorboards of the Bahay Kubo, as it finally moved its body and walked towards me. As it walked, I got a good look at just how tall it was. It would put some NBA players to shame as it crouched down over to my eye level. I was around 5'3" back then. It was wearing a tattered shirt, the ones you would expect a 14th century peasant to wear during the Black Plague. I couldn't react or think anymore as it stared deep into my soul with its black and white eyes. And then it happened. It smiled at me. A smile that would give the Joker a run for his money. It stretched out from cheek to cheek. Its teeth were huge and fully white. I don't want to distress myself recalling the absolute horror that I felt at that moment. It will never leave my mind, regardless of what else comes my way in life. It leaned closer to me. It was about to put its humongous hands at the sides of my head. Its nails alone were half the size of my hands, but I felt like it was about to squeeze my entire head with its palms. I couldn't move. I was just frozen there in fear. At that moment, something pulled me back as I saw the thing's face fall backwards as it fell to the ground with a loud thud. It was Joanna. She pulled me in her arms and screamed into the background, "Ian, the kamagong." A kamagong, or velvet tree, is a renowned tree in the Philippines, famous for its strength and durability. At that moment, Ian lunged out from the plantation in the background with a kamagong tree bark, and he stabbed the thing right in its heart. It screamed in absolute agony. The kamagong bark drilled into its heart as it oozed out a black fluid. As Ian backed away towards our position, he was visibly shaken too. I was hugging Joanna so hard that I was practically glued to her. I could also feel that she is shaking in fear as well. That thing stopped moving and screaming. It was now starting to stand up. "Run, it's still not dead," Ian screamed to us. Before I could react, Joanna picked me up and bolted out of the plantation, up towards the highway. I was a pretty tall and heavy kid for my age, but I guess the adrenaline got the best of her. As I looked over her shoulder, I got a good look of what was happening as we were running up the stairs. I could see that thing standing up in a rage. It lunged its arms at Ian in an intent to kill. But Ian dodged through the opening between its arms and torso. He grabbed another kamagong and, this time, stabbed it in its neck. As it fell down to the ground, Ian was no longer taking any chances and repeatedly stabbed it multiple times in the neck. Its screams were now distorted. It went from loud, horrifying screams at first to an adult man scream, to a scream of a younger person, and then to what sounded like a pig being slaughtered. And then finally, what sounded like a demonic low-pitched growling. As I lost sight of Ian, Joanna finally got us both up to the highway. My LittleLittlerun was there. He was staring intently at the ground and leaning at the back of his pickup truck that was carrying the banana harvest that night. As Joanna sat me down on the truck, she calmed me down and assured me that everything was okay. I asked, "What will happen to Ian?" And she replied, "Your kuya Ian has been through many things. He is not worried about this entity on his family's plantation." She gave me a light kiss on the forehead before running back down the highway. I looked at my LittleLittlerun and he was staring the length of the highway and giving it a death stare. He was acting very calm, I thought to myself. There's no way he didn't hear that thing's screams. He probably did, but what was making him think that deeply to himself? I couldn't really process anything anymore. I passed out at the back of the pickup truck as my LittleLittlerun finally got to his senses. I felt him carrying me inside the pickup truck before finally I lost consciousness. The next morning, I woke up surprisingly early at around 8 a.m. I went over to the terrace and I saw my LittleLittlerun having breakfast with pandesal, traditional Filipino bread, and Nescafe. I sat down next to him and I thought about what just happened last night. The rest of my family is gone. My LittleLittlerun started to talk. They all left to the Palenque, a wet market, to buy stock for next week. You're probably in shock and wondering what happened last night, aren't you? I nodded. That was a demon. Not a fairy tale demon. An actual demon. Demons cannot travel to the surface of the earth as we are under the grace of the gods. But humans, they have the capabilities of becoming the medium for demons. We humans, when we are under extreme stress, emotions, or feelings of wanting and needing something, we are exposed to demons, looking for a way to the surface world. Demons appear to us as what we want, trying to trick us into making a deal with them in exchange for what we need. but in reality, they only want our bodies. In awe and disbelief, I asked, where was Ian and Joanna? My LittleLittlerun said that they were at the plantation burying the body in a proper manner, in order for the possessed soul to rest in peace. I asked him for some money to commute my way over to the plantation, and he actually gave me some. I rode a jeepney, which is a traditional Filipino transportation, on my way to the plantation. As I went down, I saw Ian and Joanna praying at the spot where the demon was killed. They put a cross on top of it for assurance. My presence was immediately seen, and they went over to me in a calm manner, contrast to their usual rowdy behaviour. We were just about to leave until I remembered. I completely forgot about my tablet. I asked for them to wait as I went back into the Buckley and picked it up from the couch. As I picked it up though, I felt like it was brand new. The screen felt smooth and without traces of old use, despite being 3 years old and in a constant state of use. The tablet was laid on the couch before I picked it up, and I saw a string of sampaguita flowers on top of it. And on the wall, the word salamat was written, which means thank you in Tagalog. I asked Ian about it as he entered the house, but he looked confused at what I said about the word on the wall. As I looked back, it was gone. We went back to the house, and the entire trip went calm for the next few days until we left. My family was not told about what happened that night. Fast forward to now, and I'm a teen writing this. Ian and Joanna are now engaged. I'm happy for them, of course, but then I thought, with a life experience like that, I'd be more shocked if they just cut each other off like nothing happened. At the family meet, as orchestrated by my kuya Ian and ate Joanna, I saw my LittleLittlerun standing at the terrace. He was again eating pandesal and Nescafe. I sat down next to him. He then said that if I remembered that night that happened 8 years ago. I was moved about what he said. It felt so random and out of place. Respectfully, I replied yes and asked why. My LittleLittlerun started to talk. I never really told anyone this, even your kuya Ian. But when the banana plantation was still small and taken care of by my father, he had a friend who offered to be the caretaker of the land during the night, as back then, thieves would often steal food from plantations due to scarcity. My father's friend's name was Rodell, and according to my father, he was the nicest person he knew. He was kind, respectful, and a family man. Rodell would often repay small favors with big payments. But Rodell is often in challenges, often working more than one job in order to support his family. One morning, when my father went to the plantation, Rodell was nowhere to be found. His family was heartbroken, as the only thing left was his tattered clothes and a mysterious black liquid splattered on the back of the Buckley. My LittleLittlerun ended our conversation with, I still remember how much my father was told, "Thank you," by Rodell.